Long before satellites and smartphones, our planet was already deeply connected. A vast web of ancient trade routes moved far more than mere goods across continents. This grand network was the true foundation of our modern world, a hidden system that transmitted ideas, faiths, and technologies between distant civilizations. By the end of this journey, you will understand how these forgotten highways silently built the global society we live in today. How did a single stone from Afghanistan end up in an Egyptian pharaoh's tomb? What compelled merchants to cross some of the world's most lethal deserts for the scent of a tree? We will uncover the secrets behind these profound exchanges. What do you believe is the most powerful idea that ever traveled along these ancient paths? The oldest known trade routes were not paved roads but simple footpaths worn into the earth by countless journeys. These paths were carved by a powerful human impulse, the desire for something not found at home. One of the very first materials to travel these routes was obsidian, a volcanic glass sharper than modern surgical steel. In the Neolithic period, this valuable stone was traded over hundreds of miles, passed from hand to hand. This was not mere commerce, it was the birth of a network, a proof that even the earliest communities were not isolated. They were already reaching out, creating connections that spanned vast and unknown territories. This innate drive for exchange soon demanded more organization. The desire for truly rare treasures transformed those simple paths into structured highways of commerce. Consider the intense blue stone known as Lapis Lazuli, found only in the mountains of modern Afghanistan. Yet, thousands of miles away, this very same stone was discovered in the burial artifacts of ancient Egyptian pharaohs, placed there over 4,000 years ago. To accomplish this, merchants had to cross impossible deserts and navigate formidable mountain ranges. They were driven by the knowledge that what was common in one land was priceless in another. This emerging system was built on geography and human ingenuity. The domestication of animals like camels and horses was a revolutionary leap, turning impossible distances into arduous but achievable journeys. These creatures became the first living cargo ships, carrying goods and ideas across continents. This foundational network, built on stone and sinew, set the stage for everything that would follow. It reveals a profound truth about our ancestors, their relentless ambition to look beyond the horizon and connect with a world they were only beginning to understand. The name itself is a beautiful deception. The Silk Road was never a single paved highway but a sprawling web of pathways, both across land and sea. Think of it not as a road but as a continent-spanning nervous system, with countless threads connecting the workshops of China to the bustling markets of the Mediterranean. This network was made possible by way stations known as caravanserais, fortified inns that rose like islands in the desert. Here, bone-weary merchants from a dozen different cultures could find shelter, trade news, and prepare for the next perilous leg of their journey. While Chinese silk was certainly a legendary commodity, the caravans carried a far richer cargo. They transported pungent spices, vibrant dyes, exquisite glassware from the Roman world, and a revolutionary new material, paper. This flow of goods was secondary to an even more precious exchange, the movement of ideas. Along these routes, the spiritual teachings of Buddhism traveled from India, slowly taking root in the hearts and minds of people across Central and East Asia. In the other direction, the closely guarded Chinese secret of papermaking journeyed westward, a technological gift that would forever change how knowledge was recorded and shared. The true legacy of the Silk Road is not woven from silk threads, but from the very fabric of human civilization, proving that the most powerful cargo can be intangible. This grand network, however, was not the only ancient superhighway. Far to the south, another maritime route was forging its own connections across a vast and unpredictable ocean. While the Silk Road connected the empires of the East, another legendary network thrived on the scent of sacred trees. Deep in the arid deserts of southern Arabia, a precious substance bled from the bark of the boswellia tree. Harvesting frankincense was a delicate art, requiring precise cuts in the wood to allow the aromatic resin to slowly weep out and harden into pearly tears. This was not a quick process. It demanded patience and generations of knowledge. The same was true for myrrh, its darker, more bitter resin cousin. These were not mere luxuries. They were the very breath of ancient spirituality, essential for the religious rituals of every major civilization from the pharaohs of Egypt to the temples of Rome. The demand was so immense it created one of history's most perilous and profitable highways, the Incense Route. To deliver this sacred cargo, merchants assembled immense camel caravans. Their journey north was a confrontation with one of the most formidable deserts on Earth, the Empty Quarter. This was a sea of sand where the sun was a merciless adversary and shifting dunes could erase trails in an instant. Survival depended on an intimate knowledge of hidden wells and the stark landmarks of the desert. The price of failure was not just lost profit, but a permanent resting place in the sands. This immense risk was matched by staggering reward, fueling the rise of incredibly wealthy kingdoms. The Nabateans, brilliant architects and traders, carved their magnificent capital, Petra, directly from the rose-red cliffs of Jordan. This city became the ultimate trading hub, a place where incense caravans could find safety and where taxes on the passing goods built a breathtaking metropolis in the middle of the wilderness. The allure of frankincense and myrrh did more than just build cities. It wove a tight web of economic and cultural exchange across the entire Near East, proving that sometimes the most powerful forces in history are those you cannot see, but can only smell upon the wind. Far to the north, another ancient current of commerce flowed, forged not from silk or spice but from sunlight captured in stone. This was the Amber Road, a golden highway linking the cold pine forests of the Baltic Sea to the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean. For centuries, people combed the Baltic coastlines after storms, gathering lumps of this fossilized tree resin, hardened over millions of years into a translucent gem that glowed with an inner warmth. To the ancient civilizations of the South, amber was a substance of profound mystery and desire. It was lighter than stone, warmer to the touch than metal, and when rubbed, it could generate a static charge, a property that seemed like magic. This belief in its supernatural qualities made it a prized material for amulets and sacred objects, believed to offer protection and promote healing. The journey of a single piece of amber from its source to a final owner was an epic feat of human cooperation. Local tribes in the Baltic region initially controlled the collection, but they were just the first link in a long and sophisticated chain. A series of middlemen, a succession of traders and merchants, would pass the precious material southward. They moved along established river valleys and overland trails, navigating through the dense European heartland. The value of this golden resin is etched into the archaeological record. Exquisitely crafted amber beads and pendants have been discovered in the royal tombs of Mycenaean Greece, a civilization that thrived over 3,000 years ago. Even more astonishing, amber from the distant north has been found in the burial sites of Egyptian pharaohs, a testament to its immense and far-reaching worth. Archaeological sites along this route tell a clear story of its economic importance. Burial mounds from Central Europe often contain fine amber jewelry, placed alongside individuals as a sign of their high status and wealth. These finds are more than just beautiful artifacts. They are markers of a trade network that functioned for millennia, but the Amber Road was never a one-way street. While golden resin traveled south, other treasures moved north in return. The peoples of the Baltic were introduced to new metals like bronze and later iron, and with them came advanced metallurgical skills. They also encountered new artistic styles and motifs from the Mediterranean world, which local artisans then adapted into their own unique creations. This northern corridor reveals a vibrant and sophisticated network, one that connected the frigid, amber-rich coasts with the warm, metal-working south, fostering an exchange of goods, skills, and culture that is often completely overshadowed by the more famous routes to the south. South of the amber forests and incense trails, the world's greatest desert hosted a trade of elemental necessity. The Sahara was not a barrier but a bridge, a golden highway built on the backs of camels. Two commodities fueled this epic exchange, one glittering with wealth, the other as essential as water itself. From the powerful empires of West Africa came unimaginable quantities of gold, while from the northern deserts came life-preserving salt. The empire of Ghana and later Mali grew into legends by controlling the sources of this precious metal. Their rulers were said to hold audiences where even the dogs wore golden collars, a testament to the sheer abundance flowing from their mines. Yet for all its allure, gold held little practical value in the brutal desert heat. It could not quench thirst or preserve food. For that, communities needed salt, a mineral so vital it was literally worth its weight in gold. In the blistering salt mines of Taghaza, laborers carved slabs of the mineral from the earth, a place so desolate that even the buildings were made of salt blocks. Caravans of thousands of camels, known as the ships of the desert, would undertake the 2-month journey across the sand sea. They carried gold south and returned north laden with salt, a grueling trek where a single misstep could mean a permanent loss in the dunes. At the heart of this network were the oasis cities, shimmering islands of green in an ocean of sand. Timbuktu emerged as the ultimate crossroads, a place where merchants, scholars, and travelers from across Africa and the Middle East converged. The wealth generated from the gold and salt trade did not just build markets, it funded universities and libraries, transforming Timbuktu into a legendary center of Islamic learning and culture. This is how the desert routes transmitted more than just goods. They carried a new faith and a new written language. Islam and Arabic script traveled with the merchants, slowly taking root in West African societies and reshaping their laws, their architecture, and their connection to a wider world. The Sahara, a landscape of extreme hardship, was thus woven into the grand network, proving that even the most barren environments can become fertile ground for civilization itself. While the Sahara's caravans moved to the rhythm of camels, an even vaster network pulsed to the rhythm of the sea. The Indian Ocean was not a barrier but a superhighway, its engine powered by the predictable fury of the monsoon winds. For half the year, these winds blew steadily from the southwest, and for the other half, they reversed direction from the northeast. Ancient mariners learned to read this celestial clockwork, timing their voyages with breathtaking precision. A merchant could sail from the coast of Arabia to India on the summer monsoon, trade his goods, and then wait for the winds to shift, carrying him safely home months later. This was not just sailing, it was a grand, seasonal dance across open water. The ships that braved these journeys were masterpieces of their time. The Arabian How, with its iconic triangular lateen sail, could slice efficiently into the wind. From the east came the massive Chinese junks, veritable floating cities with watertight compartments and stern-mounted rudders that gave them unmatched stability in rough seas. These vessels became the connecting threads between worlds. They converged on legendary ports like Aden, a fortified gateway to the Red Sea, and Calicut on India's Malabar coast, a city so rich in pepper it was known as the City of Spices. Further east, the Strait of Malacca became the ultimate bottleneck of global trade. Any ship moving between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea had to pass through this narrow channel, making the port of Malacca one of the most cosmopolitan and strategically vital cities on Earth. The holds of these ships were filled with cargo that would reshape continents. Black pepper from India, cinnamon from Ceylon, and cloves and nutmeg from the distant Maluku Islands were more than just flavorings. They were preservatives, medicines, and status symbols, so valuable that they fueled empires and funded wars. But the true cargo was far more profound than any spice. On these same ships, nestled among the sacks of pepper, traveled new faiths. Islam found its way to the islands of Indonesia not through conquest, but on the decks of trading vessels. Hinduism and Buddhism spread across Southeast Asia, their stories etched into the stone of magnificent temples like Angkor Wat. The very languages of trade evolved, with Swahili emerging as a vibrant mix of Bantu and Arabic along the East African coast. This maritime world was a living tapestry of cultural fusion, where a single meal in a Malaccan market could taste of 3 different continents. The spice trade did not just connect ports, it blended the world itself, setting the stage for an age of exploration that would ultimately bind the entire globe into a single, intertwined story. While the maritime spice routes relied on the whims of the wind, one empire on land achieved something even more ambitious, building a highway of pure administrative power. The Royal Road of the Persian Empire was a marvel of ancient engineering, a stone-paved artery stretching over 1,500 miles from the capital at Susa to the distant city of Sardis. This was not a meandering trade path but a purpose-built instrument of control. The true genius of this road lay not in its construction, but in the system that animated it. At regular intervals along the route, the empire established relay stations stocked with fresh horses and dedicated couriers. The Greek historian Herodotus documented the incredible efficiency of these royal messengers. He wrote that these men could traverse the entire length of the empire in just 7 days, a journey that would take an ordinary caravan 3 grueling months. These couriers faced neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor the gloom of night in their swift completion of their appointed rounds, a testament to their unwavering duty. This was the ancient world's internet, a system for moving information at speeds that would not be surpassed for 2,000 years. This rapid communication allowed the central government to project its power instantly across vast distances, quelling rebellions and coordinating military movements with a speed that stunned its rivals. While the road was built for imperial command, it naturally supercharged commerce. Caravans carrying luxurious Babylonian textiles, intricate gold work, and other precious goods traveled in the wake of the imperial post, their journeys made safer and more predictable by the empire's peace. This flow of goods was accompanied by something less tangible but equally important, the spread of standardized administrative practices. Aramaic became the lingua franca of bureaucracy, and royal inspectors traveled the road to ensure the law of the king was upheld in every province. The Royal Road demonstrates a profound shift, proving that the most powerful network is one that can move an idea as swiftly as it moves a soldier. This Persian model of organized infrastructure became a blueprint for every empire that followed, showing that to rule a vast and diverse territory, you first had to build a road to connect it. Between the great empires, a sea of grass stretched for thousands of miles, a world governed by movement. The Eurasian steppes were home to nomadic confederations like the Scythians and the Xiongnu, peoples who lived in the saddle. Their entire existence was a journey, a constant migration with their herds across a seemingly endless landscape. This profound mobility made them the ultimate intermediaries, the living, breathing links between the walled cities of China, the bustling bazaars of Persia, and the fledgling states of Europe. They carried what the settled civilizations craved: sturdy horses coveted by armies, luxurious furs for the elite, and metals mined from the distant Ural Mountains. Yet their most enduring legacy was not in the goods they carried, but in the invisible cargo that traveled with them. How could a people without permanent cities become such powerful agents of cultural exchange? The answer lies in their unique position as the permanent travelers of the ancient world. They were not just merchants passing through, they were the road itself. Their artistry tells a vivid story of this connected existence. Scythian goldwork, often discovered in burial mounds across the steppes, is a breathtaking fusion of influences. A single golden comb might feature the lifelike portrayal of a stag, a style echoing Greek realism, yet the animal itself is contorted into a shape that pulses with the energetic patterns of Persian art, all while depicting a creature sacred to the local steppe traditions. These were not crude copies but masterful syntheses. A nomad artisan, having seen a Greek vase in a trading post or a Persian textile in a chieftain's tent, would reinterpret these foreign motifs through the lens of their own culture, creating something entirely new and magnificent. This artistic blending was a direct result of their travels, proof that ideas could flow as freely as goods across the open grassland. The most transformative exports from the steppe, however, were not made of gold but of wood, bone, and leather. Two innovations born from the nomadic way of life would forever change the nature of conflict and transportation. The composite bow was a masterpiece of engineering, crafted from layers of wood, sinew, and horn. This construction gave it a power and range that far surpassed the simple wooden bows of settled armies, allowing a mounted archer to unleash a storm of arrows from a distance. Then came the stirrup, a seemingly simple device that granted a rider unprecedented stability on horseback. For the first time, a warrior could stand in the saddle to wield a heavy lance or swing a sword without falling. This combination of the composite bow and the stirrup effectively created a new type of soldier, the heavy cavalryman, who would dominate battlefields for over 1,000 years. These technologies did not spread through formal diplomacy, but through contact and conflict along the steppe route, passing from the nomads to every civilization they touched. This highlights a profound and often overlooked dynamic of the ancient world: the continuous, vital dialogue between the settled and the mobile. The great empires built walls and wrote laws, believing their power was rooted in the soil of their cities. Meanwhile, the nomads of the steppe proved that true influence could flow from the freedom of movement. They were the cultural brokers who could take a Chinese design and deliver it to a Persian prince, or introduce a Central Asian battle technique to a European army. Their story forces us to reconsider the very foundations of civilization, reminding us that some of history's most pivotal connections were not forged in stone temples, but in the felt-lined tents of those who called the entire horizon their home. Across the ocean, a separate world was weaving its own intricate web of exchange. Long before European ships appeared on the horizon, the Americas were a vibrant tapestry of interconnected cultures. From the monumental earthen pyramids of the Mississippian civilization to the stone temples of Mesoamerica, goods and ideas traveled along routes that rivaled the complexity of the Silk Road. The city of Cahokia, located near the confluence of the Mississippi and Missouri rivers, stood as a testament to this connectivity. At its peak, it was a bustling metropolis larger than many contemporary European cities, and its central plaza hosted traders from hundreds of miles away. They brought with them the deep blue glow of turquoise from the southwestern deserts, the sharp, volcanic edge of obsidian from distant mountains, and the shimmering green feathers of quetzal birds from the tropical south. These were not merely decorative items, they were substances of profound spiritual power. A headdress of quetzal feathers or a necklace of turquoise beads was not just a display of wealth, but a direct connection to the divine, worn by rulers and priests during important ceremonies. One of the most powerful trade items was cacao, the source of chocolate. In Mesoamerica, cacao beans were so highly valued they were used as a form of currency. The bitter, frothy drink made from them was a luxury reserved for elites and a central part of ritual life. The discovery of residue from cacao in ceramic vessels at sites far from its growing region provides silent but powerful evidence of these long-distance exchanges. How did a bean from the humid tropics end up in a pot in the arid southwest? It moved along established trade corridors, passed from one community to the next, its value increasing with every mile it traveled from its source. The most transformative exchange, however, was not in jewels or feathers, but in a single plant. Maize, originally domesticated in southern Mexico, embarked on an epic journey northward. Its adoption was a slow revolution, reshaping entire societies. As the knowledge of maize cultivation spread, it allowed for population growth and the rise of more settled, complex communities. The people of the Mississippian culture became master farmers, developing new, hardier varieties of corn that could thrive in the shorter growing seasons of the North American heartland. This agricultural revolution, fueled by trade, directly enabled the rise of great urban centers like Cahokia. Archaeological digs at these sites reveal a world in constant conversation. A seashell from the Gulf of Mexico, carved with symbols from the Mississippian worldview, might be found in a burial mound in the Great Lakes region. A piece of copper from the Great Lakes, meticulously hammered into a ceremonial ornament, could be uncovered in a site in the southeastern United States. These objects tell a story not of isolated tribes, but of a continent dynamically linked by commerce and shared belief. The indigenous trade routes of the Americas reveal a sophisticated, interconnected world that flourished for centuries, a powerful reminder that the drive to connect and exchange is a universal human story, written not only across the deserts of Asia but also deep within the river valleys of the New World. That deep celestial blue was more than a color, it was a window to the heavens, sourced from a single mountain range in what is now Afghanistan. The stone known as Lapis Lazuli became one of the ancient world's most powerful status symbols. To possess it was to hold a piece of the night sky itself, a connection to the divine that empires were willing to pay any price for. The journey of a single block of this stone from the remote mines of Badakhshan to a royal workshop was a monumental undertaking. Miners working in incredibly difficult conditions would extract the raw stone using simple tools and fire. Once freed, the Lapis began an epic overland trek. Caravans had to navigate the treacherous passes of the Hindu Kush Mountains, where a single misstep could send a load of priceless gems tumbling into a ravine. After surviving the mountains, the route led into the blistering heat of the Iranian plateau, a vast desert where water was the most valuable cargo of all. This was not a journey for the faint of heart, it was a testament to human endurance driven by an insatiable demand for beauty. Why would anyone risk their life for a blue rock? The answer lies in what the stone represented. Across the ancient world, from the ziggurats of Sumer to the palaces of Egypt, this intense blue was associated with the gods and with ultimate authority. In Mesopotamia, artisans carved the stone into intricate cylinder seals, which were then rolled across wet clay to create a unique signature. These seals were more than just personal identifiers. They were miniature works of art that authenticated documents and secured storerooms. In the Indus Valley, craftsmen shaped lapis into exquisite beads that were traded across the region. But perhaps the most famous use of this material is found in the burial mask of the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. The striking blue stripes of the headdress are not paint, but inlays of polished lapis lazuli, a deliberate choice to link the young king with the power of the gods for all eternity. This was not mere decoration, it was a statement of cosmic significance carved in stone. The relentless pursuit of lapis lazuli did more than just adorn the elite, it forced the development of longer, more resilient trade routes. It encouraged the establishment of way stations and fostered diplomatic relationships between distant powers who all shared a common desire for this brilliant blue gem. The stone's journey connected cultures that had never met, proving that a shared appreciation for beauty could build bridges across the most formidable landscapes on Earth. High in the mist-shrouded mountains of southwest China, a different kind of trade was brewing, one that ran on bitter leaves and sturdy horses. This was the Tea and Horse Road, a labyrinth of trails etched into the precipitous slopes of Yunnan and Sichuan. Here, the economic and cultural survival of two powerful neighbors depended on a simple exchange. The Chinese needed the strong, resilient war horses from the Tibetan plateau to equip their imperial armies. The Tibetans, living in a high-altitude environment where little grew, craved the tea from China's fertile lowlands. This was not a luxury trade, but a trade of strategic necessity. The tea, compressed into dense bricks for easier transport, was more than a beverage. In the cold, thin air of the Himalayas, it became a vital source of vitamins and a comforting ritual, so deeply woven into daily life that it would become the very heart of Tibetan culture. The journey for the caravans was a constant confrontation with the elements. Men and their sure-footed mule trains navigated narrow paths that clung to the sides of cliffs, where a single misstep could send a load of precious tea bricks plummeting into the roaring rivers below. They crossed chasms on swaying rope bridges, each step a test of courage and balance. These trails were so treacherous that the porters developed unique walking styles, a rhythmic shuffle that maximized their stability under heavy loads. This arduous passage did more than move commodities, it became a conduit for faith. As merchants and pilgrims traveled these same paths, the profound teachings of Buddhism flowed back and forth. Tibetan monks journeyed to Chinese monasteries, and Chinese scrolls made their way to Tibetan temples, creating a shared spiritual landscape across the roof of the world. The Tea and Horse Road stands as a powerful reminder that the most resilient networks are often born from mutual need, forging bonds between cultures that are shaped not just by what they sell, but by what they truly need to survive. A piece of Roman glass carries a story of fire and transformation. It began as a mixture of sand and ash, fused in the intense heat of furnaces in Syria and Egypt. These eastern provinces were the industrial heart of the glass trade, their workshops producing vast quantities of raw material. For centuries, glassmaking was a slow, laborious process, often involving casting or molding around a clay core. Then, around the 1st century before the Common Era, a revolutionary discovery changed everything. An unknown artisan in the Syro-Palestinian region discovered that by gathering a molten blob of glass on the end of a long, hollow tube, they could blow into it, inflating the material like a bubble. This technique of glass blowing was a quantum leap in efficiency. Suddenly, a single artisan could create a delicate bottle or beaker in minutes, a task that might have taken hours or even days before. This was the moment glass ceased to be a rare luxury and began its journey into the everyday lives of ordinary people across the empire. The reach of this new industry was staggering. In the ruins of a Roman trading port in southern India, archaeologists have uncovered shards of vivid blue and green glassware, identical to pieces found in Pompeii. Far to the north, in Scandinavian burial sites, Roman glass bowls have been discovered, placed as grave goods alongside local chieftains. These fragments, found thousands of miles from where they were blown, are silent witnesses to a distribution network of immense sophistication. Roman glass was not just for drinking vessels, it filled the window openings of villas in rainy Britain, bathing interiors in a soft, diffused light, a small defiance of the northern gloom. It held perfumes, cosmetics, and exotic spices, its transparent walls showcasing the precious contents within. This was more than just a trade in a beautiful material, it was a powerful demonstration of a unified economic system. A merchant in Syria could produce a shipment of glassware with the confident knowledge that it would find a ready market in Gaul or North Africa, or even beyond the imperial frontiers. The widespread availability of Roman glass stands as a clear testament to an interconnected world, bound together by commerce and a shared appreciation for the marriage of technology and art. Beneath the warm waves of the Persian Gulf and the Indian Ocean lay a treasure that required no mining, only immense courage. For centuries, pearl divers would plunge into the deep, holding their breath for minutes at a time, their bodies weighted down to sink faster. They descended into a silent, blue world, feeling along the seabed for the rough, unassuming oysters that might contain a glimmering prize. It was a profession of profound risk, where the pressure of the water and the ever-present threat of predators were constant companions. The rewards, however, glittered in marketplaces from Rome to China. Ports like Bahrain and Sri Lanka became epicenters of this vibrant trade, their harbors filled with merchants haggling over baskets of these natural gems. A single perfect pearl could represent a fortune, a year's income for an entire family of divers. This was not a trade built on empires, but on the sheer human effort of individuals confronting the ocean's depths. Why would a simple white sphere hold such universal appeal? Its value was rooted in its natural perfection. Unlike a cut gem, a pearl required no human artistry to reveal its beauty. It emerged from the water already polished, a symbol of pure, unadulterated elegance. Across the ancient world, this made it the ultimate status symbol. Roman matrons adorned themselves with pearl earrings to display their wealth, while Chinese emperors sewed them onto their ceremonial robes as emblems of power and purity. They were woven into the religious art of India, embedded in the statues of deities to signify spiritual luminosity. The economic impact of this single resource was staggering. The entire economy of coastal communities from the Arabian Peninsula to the Gulf of Mannar was built upon the pearl harvest. Seasons were dictated by the diving cycles, and the wealth generated from a good year could sustain a town for many months. This maritime industry created a web of connection as intricate as any overland route. Ancient texts from the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder describe the high cost of pearls from the East, while Chinese court records meticulously detail their import as precious tribute. The pearl trade, powered by breath and bravery, exemplifies how a single natural resource could weave a trans-regional network, binding the desires of distant civilizations to the fate of divers in the warm, shallow seas. The true magic of the Silk Road did not happen on the long desert trails, but in the bustling heart of its most vibrant crossroads. Between the great Oxus and Jaxartes rivers lay a fabled region known as Transoxiana, a land that became the ultimate cultural laboratory of the ancient world. Here, in cities like Samarkand and Bukhara, the caravans from China finally met the merchants arriving from Persia, India, and the Mediterranean. The city squares were a symphony of different tongues, a living map of the entire connected hemisphere. You could hear the prayers from a Zoroastrian fire temple mingling with the call from a newly built Buddhist stupa, while down the street, scholars debated in Greek and Arabic. This was not merely a place where goods were traded, it was where entire worlds were blended together. The caravans unloaded Chinese silk and lacquerware, which were then exchanged for Indian spices, Persian silverwork, and Mediterranean glass. But the most valuable cargo was not something that could be weighed on a scale. It was the knowledge carried in the minds of the travelers. In the flourishing academies and libraries of these cities, the intellectual treasures of the ancient world collided and combined. Indian scholars brought their revolutionary concept of the number zero and a decimal numeral system. Persian astronomers shared their detailed star charts. Greek texts on philosophy and medicine, preserved and translated, found a new audience. This fusion of learning sparked breathtaking innovations. It was here that the scholar Al-Khwarizmi, building on Indian and Greek mathematics, systematized algebra, a word that itself comes from the title of his most famous book. The very paper on which his ideas were written was a testament to this exchange. The closely guarded Chinese secret of papermaking had been carried west by artisans, and it was in the cities of Transoxiana that the technology was adopted and perfected, creating a durable new medium that would carry this explosion of knowledge all the way to Europe. In the workshops, this cultural alchemy took physical form. local artisans began producing ceramics that painted Chinese motifs with Persian colors. Textile weavers combined Mediterranean patterns with Central Asian symbols. This creative explosion was not a mere imitation of foreign styles, but the birth of something entirely new, a distinct Transoxianian aesthetic that was itself exported back along the trade routes. The region stands as a powerful lesson in human creativity, proving that when diverse traditions are allowed to meet and mingle freely, they do not dilute one another. Instead, they ignite a spark of innovation that can light up the world. Deep in the heart of Africa, another great network thrived in the shadows of the continent's largest lakes. Here, the rhythm of trade was set by the ring of a hammer on iron and the silent journey of ivory. The communities surrounding Lake Victoria and Lake Tanganyika were not merely exchanging goods, they were building sophisticated economies on resources they mastered themselves. One of their most profound achievements was the independent invention of iron smelting, a technological revolution born from the earth itself. Local metallurgists learned to build tall, efficient furnaces that could reach the intense temperatures needed to separate pure iron from raw ore. This was not a borrowed skill, but a homegrown innovation that transformed daily life. With stronger, more durable iron hoes and axes, farmers could clear dense forests and till tougher soils, leading to an unprecedented expansion of agriculture. This ability to feed more people directly supported the growth of larger, more complex societies. Meanwhile, from the vast interior came a different kind of treasure, one that required no forging. Elephants roamed the woodlands, and their tusks provided a material of immense value. These heavy, curved pieces of ivory began a long journey from the inland hunting grounds to the coast. Local traders would transport them along well-established paths, passing through a chain of intermediaries until they finally reached the bustling Swahili city-states like Kilwa and Zanzibar. On those sun-drenched coasts, the ivory was loaded onto the house of Indian Ocean merchants, destined for markets in India, the Middle East, and beyond. In return, the interior kingdoms received coveted goods from across the sea, including fine cotton cloths, brilliantly colored glass beads, and delicate Chinese porcelain. This two-way exchange created immense wealth and power for those who could control it. Kingdoms like Uganda and Rwanda grew into formidable states by mastering the trade routes that crisscrossed the Great Lakes region. Their rulers stationed officials at key river crossings and marketplaces, ensuring a steady flow of taxes and tribute from the commerce that passed through their lands. The success of these networks stands as powerful evidence that Africa was never an isolated continent. It was an active, innovative participant in a global conversation of exchange, its own internal highways seamlessly connecting to the maritime superhighways of the Indian Ocean, proving that civilization was being forged not just in one place, but in many simultaneously. That same celestial blue found in the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs held profound power on the other side of the world. Across the deserts of the American Southwest, deep within ancient mines like those at Cerrillos in New Mexico, laborers chipped a different blue-green treasure from the hard rock. Turquoise, the skystone of the Americas, would then embark on an epic journey south, traveling nearly 1,200 miles along a route we now call the Turquoise Road. This was not a simple path for commerce, but a sacred highway, connecting the arid pueblos of the north with the sprawling, vibrant cities of Mesoamerica. For the Aztecs, this stone was far more than a decorative jewel. They knew it as the stone of fire, associating its vibrant color with the life-giving essence of water and the fertile promise of new growth. To them, it was a piece of the heavens fallen to earth, a physical fragment of divine power. This belief was carved into the heart of their most important rituals. The mask of the god Zu-Tecutli, the ancient lord of fire and time, was a masterwork of this sacred trade. Artisans would meticulously glue thousands of tiny, perfectly shaped turquoise tiles onto a wooden base, creating a shimmering blue visage that was believed to channel the god's presence during ceremonies. This spiritual demand created an economic engine that spanned a continent. The Pueblo peoples, master craftsmen living in the stone source region, became the crucial intermediaries of this network. They did not merely dig the raw stone from the earth, they transformed it. In workshops lit by sunlight, skilled artisans shaped the turquoise into uniform beads, polished pendants, and pre-cut tiles ready for mosaic work. These finished goods were far more valuable and easier to transport than rough chunks of rock. They were then passed south hand to hand through a chain of trading partners. Imagine a finely crafted turquoise pendant, created by an ancestral Pueblo artisan in Choco Canyon, being carried by a trader into the vast deserts of northern Mexico. There, it might be exchanged with a Casas Grandes merchant for scarlet macaw feathers or seashells from the Gulf of California. This object would continue its voyage, moving ever closer to the Valley of Mexico, its value increasing with every mile it traveled from its origin. This long-distance exchange was about more than beautiful objects, it was a conduit for ideas. The northward flow of goods brought macaws, copper bells, and the knowledge of advanced metallurgy into the southwest. In return, the southern civilizations received not only turquoise but also new artistic techniques and perhaps even spiritual concepts tied to the stone itself. The Turquoise Road stands as magnificent proof that the continents of the ancient world were intricately woven together by threads of mutual desire, proving that a shared reverence for a single color could build a network as complex and far-reaching as any in the Old World. The color purple was not a simple pigment but a scent on the wind, a mark of identity that announced a king long before he entered a room. This was Tyrian purple, a dye so potent and rare it became the ultimate symbol of power across the ancient Mediterranean. Its secret lay not in plants or minerals, but in the mucus secretions of a particular sea snail, the murex, harvested from the coastal waters near the Phoenician cities of Tyre and Sidon. The process of transforming this fluid into a legendary color was one of the ancient world's most guarded and grueling industries. Thousands of snails were needed to produce just a single gram of dye. Harvesters would carefully crack the shells to extract the tiny hypobranchial gland where the precious liquid was stored. The glands were then soaked in vast vats of salt water for days, a slow fermentation under the sun that released the dye. Initially, the extracted liquid was a pale, yellowish color, but exposure to sunlight worked a kind of magic, transforming it through a spectrum of greens and blues until it settled into that deep, rich, color-fast purple that would not fade with washing or time. The stench from these open-air dye works was legendary, a putrid odor that clung to the entire coastline, yet it was the smell of immense wealth. Why would any civilization endure such a foul process? The answer is written in the laws and art of antiquity. In Rome, sumptuary laws explicitly restricted the wearing of this specific purple to the senatorial class and later to the emperor alone. A single purple bordered toga was a statement of supreme authority. This insatiable demand for royal insignia fueled the Phoenicians' greatest achievement, their sprawling trade network. To secure their monopoly, they established a chain of colonies and trading posts that stretched from Cyprus and Carthage in the east all the way to the Atlantic coast of Spain. These were not just ports, but fortified factories dedicated to the dyeing trade and the distribution of the finished textiles. The Phoenician ships, renowned for their seaworthiness, became floating warehouses of purple, carrying bolts of dyed wool and silk to every corner of the Mediterranean. But their vessels carried a cargo far more transformative than any dyed cloth. As they traded, the Phoenicians disseminated their most revolutionary invention, a simple phonetic alphabet of just 22 characters. This system was far easier to learn than the complex cuneiform or hieroglyphic scripts of the great empires. and it was rapidly adopted and adapted by their trading partners, most notably the Greeks. This alphabet would become the ancestor of most modern Western writing systems. The purple dye trade, therefore, stands as a perfect symbol of how a single, specialized craft, born from a strange and smelly secret of the sea, could project economic influence across an entire sea, building an empire not of conquest, but of commerce and cultural exchange that would shape the very words we use today. High in the thin air of the Himalayas, a different kind of caravan moved to the rhythm of heavy bells. For centuries, traders guided long lines of shaggy yaks across some of the most treacherous landscapes on the planet, their packs laden with slabs of pink salt mined from the Great Lakes of the Tibetan Plateau. This was not a journey for the impatient or the weak. The trails were narrow tracks etched into the sides of mountains, where a single misstep could send a valuable load tumbling thousands of feet into a rocky gorge. The yaks, with their thick coats and incredible lung capacity, were the only creatures capable of serving as living cargo ships in this vertical world, their broad, soft hooves providing a sure grip on icy paths. The salt they carried was a substance of life and death for the communities in the lower valleys of Nepal and India. In a world without refrigeration, salt was the primary means of preserving meat and fish, a crucial defense against hunger during long winters. It was also essential for human health, replenishing vital minerals lost through sweat in the hot, humid lowlands. This fundamental need created a powerful economic symmetry. The high-altitude Tibetans had salt in abundance but struggled to grow enough grain. The communities in the fertile lower valleys had surplus rice and other grains, but they desperately needed salt. So, in bustling border markets, a vibrant barter economy flourished. A stack of pink salt slabs might be traded directly for an equal volume of barley or rice, a straightforward exchange of survival. This trade route did more than move commodities, it wove a tapestry of cultural connection. Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, often perched in strategic locations along the passes, naturally became way stations and safe havens for the caravans. Here, weary traders could find shelter, share a meal, and engage in quiet dialogue with Hindu merchants from the south. These interactions were not formal diplomatic meetings, but the slow, steady drip of cultural exchange that happens when people meet face to face. Stories were shared, religious philosophies were gently discussed, and artistic motifs began to travel. A Buddhist symbol might subtly influence the wood carving on a Hindu temple door, while a Hindu devotional story might find its way into a Tibetan folk tale. The Himalayan salt trade is a profound lesson in human adaptation. It shows us how the most formidable geography, rather than dividing people, can create a mutual dependence so strong that it forges bonds of culture and resilience across the roof of the world. A deep, primal cold settled over medieval Europe every winter, and defense against it was stitched from the fur of northern animals. The dense, water-resistant pelt of the beaver, the impossibly soft dark coat of the sable, and the luxurious white winter fur of the Arctic fox were not mere comforts. They were walking symbols of wealth and authority, a visible divide between the nobility who could afford such warmth and everyone else. This insatiable demand for prestige transformed the vast, silent forests of Scandinavia and Russia into a sprawling economic frontier. The initial masters of this frontier were the Vikings, who leveraged their unparalleled seamanship to establish a web of trade posts. They navigated river systems deep into the interior, reaching lands controlled by Slavic and Finnic peoples. At places like Staraya Ladoga and later the great city of Novgorod, a vibrant and often tense marketplace emerged. Here, Norse traders offered fine weapons, glassware, and silver Arabic coins known as dirhams in exchange for bundles of prime pelts gathered by local hunters. These furs would then be transported back along the rivers to Baltic ports, from where they were shipped to the courts of London, Paris, and the Holy Roman Empire. The sheer profitability of this exchange inevitably drew more organized power. By the 13th century, the Hanseatic League, a formidable alliance of German merchant towns, began to muscle in on the trade. They established powerful counting houses in cities like Novgorod, imposing strict commercial rules and using their naval strength to dominate the Baltic Sea lanes. The League's control was so complete that they could dictate the price of furs from Riga to Bruges, turning a natural resource into a tightly managed commodity. This was not just commerce, it was geopolitics. Alliances between Russian princes and Hanseatic merchants were brokered over bundles of sable, and conflicts erupted when trade privileges were violated. The flow of furs southward and the flow of silver and goods northward fundamentally rewired the economy of Northern Europe. It pulled a once peripheral region firmly into the continental fold, spreading not just goods but also Norse legal concepts, metallurgical skills, and artistic styles along its routes. A single beaver pelt destined to line a royal cloak thus became a tiny engine of history, proving that the desire for warmth and status could forge empires and connect worlds as powerfully as any spice or gemstone. The strength of a Bronze Age king was measured by the reach of his traders. Across the Mediterranean world, a technological revolution was unfolding, one forged from two simple metals. Copper was relatively common, found in many regions, but to transform it into the hard, durable alloy of bronze, you needed tin. This rare metal became the most strategic resource of the era, the secret ingredient that powered everything from farming sickles to the chariots of empire. The Mycenaean Greeks, builders of great palaces like Mycenae and Pylos, did not have local tin sources. Their entire military and economic power depended on a fragile, long-distance network that stretched to the very edges of their known world. They had to look far beyond their shores, to the misty mines of Cornwall in distant Britain and the remote deposits of Afghanistan, to acquire this essential component. How did a civilization centered in Greece maintain connections with such far-flung places? The answer lies beneath the waves. Off the coast of modern Turkey, the deep sea preserved a magnificent time capsule, the Uluburun shipwreck. This vessel, dating from the 14th century before the Common Era, was a floating treasure chest of international trade. Its cargo manifest was a map of the Bronze Age world. Alongside Canaanite jars filled with resin and glass ingots from Mesopotamia, archaeologists discovered the ship's most vital cargo, several tons of pure tin, carefully shaped into ingots for transport. This single shipwreck provides undeniable proof of the scale and sophistication of this early metal trade. The ship itself was likely of Cypriot or Levantine origin, a testament to the collaborative nature of these networks, where multiple cultures worked together to move essential goods. The creation of bronze was an alchemical process that united continents. Miners in Britain would extract the tin ore, which was then smelted and cast into ingots. These heavy, metallic bricks would begin an epic journey passed from hand to hand, shipped across treacherous seas, and hauled overland on donkey caravans. Eventually, they would arrive at a Mycenaean workshop, where a smith would carefully combine the tin with Cypriot copper in a clay crucible, melting them together to pour the molten bronze into molds for swords, shields, and tools. This interdependence created a delicate global system. A disruption in the tin supply from Afghanistan could weaken empires in the Aegean, while a demand for new weapons in Anatolia could stimulate production in British mining communities. The bronze trade was the silent engine of the age, a network so vital that its collapse around 1200 before the Common Era contributed to a dark age that swallowed the entire eastern Mediterranean world. It stands as a powerful reminder that our global connectivity is not a modern invention, but a story as old as metal itself. A desert wind could not carry the soul of an Arabian horse. This was not merely an animal, but a living work of art, forged in the harsh crucible of the Arabian Peninsula. Its very form was a testament to survival, with a dished face that allowed for easier breathing, large nostrils to cool the scorching air, and a metabolism that could thrive on sparse rations. But its true genius lay in an almost supernatural endurance, the ability to run vast distances across blistering sands where other breeds would falter and fall. This unique combination of elegance and resilience made the Arabian horse one of the ancient world's most coveted strategic assets. They were not typically sold in common markets, but exchanged as gifts of immense diplomatic weight. A powerful Persian Shah might receive a dozen prime stallions from a Bedouin chieftain to seal a crucial alliance, their arrival a more potent statement than any treaty. Roman generals, recognizing their superior agility, eagerly sought them to outmaneuver the heavier cavalry of their northern enemies. The spoils of war also scattered these precious bloodlines far and wide, as conquering armies prized captured Arabian stock above gold or jewels. The impact of a single horse on a distant battlefield could be profound. The arrival of these swift, intelligent animals revolutionized cavalry tactics from North Africa to the steppes of Central Asia. A soldier mounted on an Arabian horse was no longer just a man on a beast. He was part of a responsive, unified entity capable of complex maneuvers and sustained charges that could decide the fate of an empire. This military exchange, however, was always accompanied by a quieter, deeper cultural transfer. With the horses came their equipment, the specific design of a saddle that provided greater stability, or the unique shape of a bit that allowed for subtle communication. Equestrian styles and training methods traveled along the same routes, absorbed and adapted by each new culture that welcomed the Arabian horse into its stables. The legacy of this trade is written in the bloodlines of nearly every modern light horse breed. From the graceful Andalusians of Spain to the powerful thoroughbreds of England, the genetic signature of the desert courser is an indelible mark, a living monument to a time when a single breed of horse was not just a possession, but a key to power and a bridge between worlds. The lifeblood of ancient bureaucracy flowed not from rivers of ink, but from the quiet marshes of the Nile Delta. Here, in the shallow waters, grew the papyrus plant, a tall, grassy reed that the Egyptians would transform into the world's first widespread paper. The manufacturing process was a closely guarded state secret. Workers would harvest the reeds, carefully slicing the pithy stems into thin, vertical strips. These strips were then laid side by side with a second layer placed crosswise on top. The two layers were pounded together, and the natural sap of the plant acted as a powerful adhesive, bonding the sheets as they dried under the hot sun. The result was a smooth, durable, and surprisingly flexible sheet, perfect for recording everything from royal decrees to personal letters. Egypt held a complete monopoly on this revolutionary technology, a monopoly that would last for thousands of years and grant the pharaohs immense economic power. The demand for this material was insatiable. From the port of Alexandria, ships laden with rolls of papyrus set sail for every corner of the Mediterranean. Greek philosophers used it to draft their philosophies, Roman officials used it to administer their vast empire, and merchants from Tyre to Carthage used it to keep their accounts. The very structure of our knowledge was shaped by this material, as the scroll format dictated how stories were told and information was organized. The reach of this trade is etched into the archaeological record. Papyrus scrolls preserved by freakish accidents of climate have been discovered in the ruins of Roman villas in Britain and in the ashes of a library in Herculaneum. These fragile sheets, covered in Greek poetry or Latin legal texts, are silent witnesses to a continent connected by a common need to write. The Egyptian monopoly was not just about controlling a product, it was about controlling the very medium of memory. While papyrus enabled the written word to travel, another network was forming in the highlands of South America, one that moved a different kind of treasure, a soft, brilliant metal that would captivate the world. That same soft, brilliant metal from the South American highlands captivated cultures across the ancient world. Gold's allure was universal, but some of the most powerful currencies were forged from the sea itself. In the deep, clear waters of the Mediterranean, divers risked the depths for a different treasure, the deep red branches of precious coral. Harvesting it was a dangerous dance with depth and breadth, as free divers plunged to carefully break the fragile formations from the underwater cliffs. This was not a task for the faint of heart, but the reward was a substance believed to hold magical properties. Mediterranean coral was traded across continents, carried by Phoenician and Greek merchants to the Celtic tribes of Europe, who inlaid it into intricate metal torques. It traveled south across the Sahara, where it was highly prized in West African societies for its vibrant color, which was associated with life, protection, and spiritual power. A single strand of coral beads could signify royalty, worn as a tangible connection to a distant, watery world. Meanwhile, in the warm shallows of the Indian Ocean, a humbler sea creature was being gathered by the millions. The small, glossy, porcelain-like cowrie shell, with its distinctive slit opening, became one of history's most enduring forms of money. Why did this particular shell achieve such universal acceptance? Its qualities were perfect for currency. It was durable, easy to carry, difficult to counterfeit, and visually distinctive. From China to Bengal, and most famously across vast regions of Africa, cowries were used to buy everything from daily goods to parcels of land. In the kingdom of Dahomey, vast royal treasuries were not filled with gold coins, but with immense stockpiles of these shells, their count signifying the wealth of the state. The cowrie trade created a financial network that stretched from the Maldives, the primary source, all the way to the forests of West Africa. This meant that a shell diver in the Indian Ocean was indirectly connected to a merchant in Timbuktu, their fates linked by a global chain of exchange. The profound journey of coral and cowries reveals a deeper truth about ancient trade. It was driven as much by spiritual belief and social need as by pure commerce. A cowrie was not just a coin, its shape was often associated with fertility and was used in rituals. Coral was not merely a red jewel, it was a protective amulet against evil. These marine commodities show us that value is a human invention, and that sometimes the most powerful forces connecting our world were not mined from the earth but harvested from the sea. The spices in your kitchen cabinet tell a story of journeys begun thousands of years ago. Our modern world, with its instant communication and global markets, did not appear from nowhere. It is the direct descendant of these ancient networks. The Grand Exchange along the Silk Road and its sister routes did far more than move merchandise. It fundamentally rewired human civilization. Think of the faiths that now span the globe. Buddhism traveled from its birthplace in India along those dusty trails, finding new homes and expressions in the cultures of Central and East Asia. In a similar journey, the teachings of Islam spread not only by conquest but through the quiet, persistent footsteps of merchants crossing the Sahara and sailing the Indian Ocean, carried as personal belief that slowly took root in new soil. The technologies that shaped history also moved along these channels. The Chinese secret of papermaking journeyed west, revolutionizing how knowledge was recorded and shared, while gunpowder, initially developed for ceremonial purposes, transformed warfare and industry across continents. Even our dinner tables bear the marks of this ancient globalization. Citrus fruits from Southeast Asia, spinach from Persia, and sugarcane from New Guinea became staples in cuisines half a world away, all thanks to the palates of adventurous traders. Languages absorbed new words, artistic styles blended, and a shared human heritage was quietly assembled, piece by piece, across vast distances. This profound legacy reveals a simple but powerful truth. Our current era of globalization is not a sudden break from the past, but an acceleration of a process that has been connecting humanity for millennia. The caravans and merchant ships were the internet of their day, transmitting the most powerful cargo of all, the ideas, tastes, and beliefs that make us who we are. These ancient pathways were the original blueprint for our modern world, a silent foundation upon which everything we know was built. The silk, spices, and precious stones have long since been traded or consumed, but their true legacy is far more permanent. It lives on in the world's major faiths, which found new continents of believers along these routes. It echoes in the languages we speak, enriched by words absorbed from distant cultures in bustling market towns. It resonates in the food we eat, a direct inheritance from the first adventurous merchants who carried seeds and recipes across impossible distances. The drive that propelled a caravan across the Sahara or how across the Indian Ocean is the very same impulse that now fuels our global digital networks. We are still exchanging ideas, still building upon the innovations of others, still finding common ground with people on the other side of the globe. The scale and speed have changed beyond recognition, but the essential human desire to connect, to trade, and to understand has not. As you look at the interconnected world of today, remember the caravan masters and the deep sea divers, the scholars and the artisans who first wove these threads of connection. Their stories are not locked in the past, they are the prologue to our own. We would love to hear what part of this grand exchange you find most fascinating. Which idea or object, traveling from its point of origin to a new home, do you think most profoundly changed the course of history? Share your thoughts below, and if you have enjoyed this journey through the roots of our global story, be sure to subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries that shape